when a hotel security guard took one look at this veteran's beat-up truck and decided he didn't belong at their upscale establishment. He had no idea he was about to make the biggest mistake of his career. But what happened when an entire military convoy surrounded the hotel just 1 hour later? I never thought watching my brother park his truck would break my heart. But there I was, standing in the fancy hotel lobby, watching Marcus pull up in his old beat-up Chevy that looked like it had been through a war. Which it had. The truck made this terrible knocking sound as it rolled into the parking lot. Other guests turned to stare. Some covered their ears. The paint was chipped and rusty. One headlight was cracked. The back bumper hung loose on one side. It looked nothing like the shiny cars parked around it. Marcus turned off the engine and sat there for a moment. I could see him through the big glass windows. He was gripping the steering wheel tight. His hands were shaking a little. I knew that look. It was the same look he had when he called me from the hospital overseas. The security guard noticed the truck right away. His name tag said Jenkins. He was a big man with a stern face. He walked toward Marcus's truck like he was ready for trouble. I watched him shake his head and pull out his radio. Marcus opened his door slowly. That's when I saw it happen. His left leg caught on the door frame. It was his fake leg, the one he got after the bomb went off in Afghanistan. He had to use both hands to lift it out of the truck. Jenkins saw this too, but instead of helping, his face got harder. He crossed his arms and waited. My brother finally stood up. He was wearing his old army jacket, the one with the patches and medals. It was clean but worn. You could tell it had been his favorite for years. He smoothed down his hair and took a deep breath. That's when Jenkins walked up to him. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to move your vehicle," Jenkins said. His voice was loud enough for other people to hear. "This is a high-class establishment. We have standards to keep." Marcus looked confused. "I'm sorry, what's wrong?" "Your truck." Jenkins pointed at it like it was garbage. "It doesn't belong here. Our guests expect a certain level of quality." I felt my face get hot with anger. I started walking toward the door, but I stopped when I heard Marcus speak. "I have a reservation," Marcus said quietly. He pulled out his phone with those same shaking hands. The screen was cracked, but it worked. "Room 237. I booked it 3 weeks ago." Jenkins barely looked at the phone. "I don't care what you booked. That vehicle is an eyesore. It's bringing down the whole property." Other guests were starting to stare now. A woman in a fur coat whispered something to her husband. A man in an expensive suit shook his head. I saw a kid point at Marcus's leg and ask his mom something. Marcus's face changed. The hope in his eyes started to fade. "Sir, I just drove 8 hours to get here. I'm only staying 1 night. Then you can find somewhere else to stay," Jenkins said. "There's a motel down the highway. That's more your speed." That's when I saw something in Marcus that scared me. His shoulders dropped. His head hung low. This was my brother who had saved lives overseas, who had medals for being brave, who had fought for our country. And now he looked defeated by a man in a security uniform. "Is there a problem here?" I heard someone ask. It was Mrs. Peterson, the hotel manager. She had come outside to see what was happening. "No problem," Jenkins said quickly, "just explaining our parking policies to this gentleman." Mrs. Peterson looked at Marcus's truck, and she looked at Marcus. I could see her making the same judgment as Jenkins. Her face said it all. "I see," she said slowly. "Well, we do try to maintain a certain image for our guests." Marcus nodded like he understood, but I could see the hurt in his eyes. The same hurt I saw when he told me about his friends who didn't make it home. "I'll move along," Marcus said softly. He started walking back to his truck. That's when I couldn't take it anymore. I burst through the hotel doors. "Marcus!" I called out. He turned around, surprised to see me. "Sarah, what are you doing here?" "I work here," I said, loud enough for Jenkins and Mrs. Peterson to hear. "This is my brother." Jenkins looked embarrassed for a second, but then his face got hard again. "I don't care who he is. The rules are the rules." Marcus looked at me with sad eyes. "It's okay, sis. I should have known better." "Known better about what?" I asked, my voice getting louder. "About thinking I belonged in a place like this," he said. Those words hit me like a punch. My brother had risked his life for people like Jenkins. He had lost his leg fighting for freedom, and now he thought he wasn't good enough for a hotel room. Marcus started walking toward his truck again. I saw him pull out his phone. He was making a call. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but his voice sounded different, stronger, like the soldier he used to be. Jenkins was already walking away, thinking his job was done. Mrs. Peterson was heading back inside. They thought it was over, but I knew my brother, and I knew that phone call meant something big was about to happen. The phone call lasted exactly 3 minutes. I watched Marcus stand straighter as he talked. His voice got deeper, stronger, like when he used to tell me stories about leading his unit overseas. "Copy that, Colonel," I heard him say. 15 minutes out. "Colonel?" My heart started beating faster. Marcus hung up and looked at me. There was something different in his eyes now. Not sadness, not defeat, something else. "Sarah, I tried to do this the easy way," he said quietly. "I just wanted one quiet night before." "Before what?" I asked. He looked down at his hands, then back up at me. "Before I tell Mom about the doctors." My stomach dropped. "What doctors?" "The ones at the VA hospital," Marcus said. His voice was steady, but I could hear the fear underneath. "They found something in my lungs. From all the smoke and fires overseas. I felt like I couldn't breathe." "Marcus, what are you saying?" "I'm saying I might not have much time left, sis." The words hit me harder than anything ever had. My big brother, the one who taught me to ride a bike, who scared away bullies at school, who promised he'd always come home safe. He might be dying. Jenkins had stopped walking. He was close enough to hear us talking. I saw him turn around slowly. "How much time?" I whispered. "Maybe 6 months. Maybe less." Marcus's voice cracked a little. "That's why I want to stay here tonight. This is where Dad stayed before he went to Vietnam. Same room number and everything." I remember the story. Dad had told us about staying in room 237 the night before he shipped out. How scared he was. How he prayed he'd see us again. "Room 237, I said. "Yeah, I thought maybe it would help me feel closer to him. Give me some courage for what's coming." Jenkins was staring at us now. Really staring. I saw him look at Marcus's army jacket again. This time he noticed the medals. The patches. The purple heart pin that meant my brother had been wounded in battle. "Sir," Jenkins called out. His voice was different now. Softer. Marcus turned around. "Yes. I didn't realize." "Didn't realize what?" Marcus asked. Jenkins walked closer. "You're military." "I was," Marcus said. 3 tours in Afghanistan. That's where you got hurt." Jenkins pointed at Marcus's leg. "IED explosion," Marcus said simply. "Improvised explosive device. Lost 3 good friends that day. I was lucky to only lose the leg." Jenkins's face went white. "I'm sorry, I didn't know." "How could you know?" Marcus said. "You looked at my truck and saw trash. You looked at me and saw someone who didn't belong." "I was wrong," Jenkins said quietly. "Yes, you were." That's when I heard it. The sound of big engines in the distance. Getting closer. Marcus heard it too. He smiled for the first time all day. "What's that sound?" Jenkins asked. "My brothers," Marcus said. Mrs. Peterson came back outside. She looked worried. "Is everything all right out here?" The engine sounds were getting louder. I could see dust clouds in the distance, coming down the highway toward us. "Ma'am," Marcus said to Mrs. Peterson, "you might want to call the main office." "Why would I do that?" she asked. "Because in about 10 minutes, this parking lot is going to be full of military vehicles." Mrs. Peterson's eyes went wide. "What are you talking about?" The first black SUV appeared at the end of the road. Then another. Then another. "I called my old unit," Marcus explained. "Told them what happened here. Told them how your staff treats veterans." Jenkins was backing away now. "Sir, I think there's been a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding," Marcus said. "You were crystal clear. My truck wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough." The SUVs were closer now. I could see men in uniform inside them. "How many are coming?" I asked. "Enough," Marcus said. "My whole platoon, plus some friends from other units." Mrs. Peterson was on her phone now, talking fast, probably calling her boss. Her face was getting redder by the minute. "Marcus," I said, "what are you planning?" "I'm not planning anything, sis. I just wanted my brothers to see how this place treats people like us." The first SUV pulled into the parking lot. It was big and black and official looking. The kind of vehicle you see in movies. The windows were tinted dark. Jenkins was sweating now. "Sir, maybe we can work something out." "Work what out?" Marcus asked. You already made your feelings clear. The SUV doors opened. 3 soldiers got out. They were in dress uniforms, clean and sharp. They walked toward us like they owned the place. But that wasn't the biggest surprise. The soldier in front had silver eagles on his shoulders. A full colonel. He walked straight to Marcus and saluted. "Staff Sergeant Thompson," the colonel said. "We came as soon as we heard." Marcus saluted back. "Thank you for coming, sir." More SUVs were pulling in now. The parking lot was filling up with military vehicles. Soldiers were getting out, all of them heading toward my brother. Mrs. Peterson was still on her phone. I heard her say something about calling the police. "Ma'am," the colonel said to her, "I wouldn't do that if I were you." "Why not?" she asked. The colonel smiled. "Because we haven't done anything wrong. We're just visiting an old friend." But I could tell there was more to this story. The way the soldiers looked at Marcus, the respect in their eyes, the way they stood around him like a shield. My brother wasn't just any veteran. He was someone special, someone important. And we were about to find out just how important he really was. The colonel wasn't just any colonel. When he said my brother's name, his voice shook with emotion. That's when I knew Marcus had been keeping secrets from me. "Staff Sergeant Thompson saved my life," the colonel announced to everyone in the parking lot. His voice was loud and clear, and the lives of 11 other soldiers. Jenkins's mouth fell open. Mrs. Peterson stopped talking on her phone. Other hotel guests had come outside to see what was happening. They all stared at my brother like they were seeing him for the first time. Marcus looked embarrassed. "Sir, you don't need to do this." "Yes, I do," the colonel said firmly. "These people need to know who they turn away." More soldiers were walking over. I counted at least 20 men and women in uniform. They formed a circle around Marcus, like they were protecting him. Their faces were serious, respectful. "Tell them about Kabul," one of the soldiers said. "Rodriguez." "That's enough," Marcus said quietly. But Colonel Martinez wasn't stopping. August 15th, 2021. The evacuation. Marcus was supposed to be on light duty because of his leg. I felt my heart speed up. Marcus had never told me details about that day. He just said it was hard, that people got hurt. Instead, he ran toward the explosion when everyone else ran away. The colonel continued. He pulled 4 wounded soldiers to safety. Then he went back for more. Jenkins was staring at Marcus now, really looking at him. Not at his old truck, not at his worn jacket. At him. That's when the second bomb went off, the colonel said. Marcus threw himself on top of me and 2 other officers. The shrapnel that hit his back was meant for us. My hands started shaking. "Marcus, you never told me there were 2 bombs." Marcus looked to the ground. "I didn't want you to worry more than you already did." "He spent 3 months in the hospital," the colonel said. "Doctors said he might never walk again." But Marcus proved them wrong. A woman in the crowd gasped. "He's a hero. The biggest hero I know," the colonel agreed. Mrs. Peterson put her phone away. She walked toward Marcus slowly. "Sir, I had no idea." "How could you?" Marcus asked. "You saw an old truck and made up your mind." "I was wrong," she said. "We were both wrong." She looked at Jenkins. Jenkins nodded. "Very wrong." But Marcus wasn't done talking. He looked tired suddenly, like telling the truth had taken all his energy. "There's something else," Marcus said. "Something I haven't told anyone except Sarah." The colonel frowned. "What is it, Sergeant?" Marcus took a deep breath. "The doctors at the VA found something in my lungs. From all the burn pits overseas." The parking lot got very quiet. You could hear cars driving by on the highway, a bird singing in a tree, but nobody said a word. "What kind of something?" the colonel asked carefully. "Cancer," Marcus said simply. "Stage 4. From breathing all that toxic smoke for 3 years." I saw several soldiers close their eyes. Some looked away. One of them, a young woman, started crying quietly. "How long?" the colonel asked. 6 months. Maybe less. The silence was heavy, like a blanket covering everyone. Mrs. Peterson had tears in her eyes. Even Jenkins looked sad. "That's why I came here tonight," Marcus continued. "This is where our dad stayed before he went to Vietnam. I wanted to feel close to him, to get some courage for what's coming next." "Room 237, I added quietly. "Your father was military too?" the colonel asked. "Army. 2 tours in Vietnam. He made it home, but the war never left him." The colonel nodded. He understood. All the soldiers understood. Sergeant, the colonel said formally, it will be my honor to make sure you get that room tonight. Mrs. Peterson stepped forward quickly. Of course. Room 237 is yours. No charge. I can pay, Marcus said. Not tonight you can't, she replied. Tonight, it's our gift to you. Jenkins cleared his throat. Sir, I owe you an apology. A big one. Marcus looked at him. You didn't know. I should have treated you with respect, no matter what I knew, Jenkins said. That's on me. The colonel was talking quietly with some of the other soldiers. I could see them making plans. Important plans. Marcus, the colonel said, we need to talk. Privately. My brother nodded. They walked a few steps away from the crowd. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could see the colonel's face getting more serious. Other soldiers were talking too, in small groups, whispering, like they were planning something big. Mrs. Peterson came over to me. Your brother is remarkable. Yes, he is, I said. I'm going to make some calls, she said. There are people who need to know about this. About what happened here today. What kind of people? I asked. But before she could answer, the colonel came back. His face was different now. Determined. Sergeant Thompson, he said loudly. There's someone coming to see you. Someone very important. Marcus looked confused. Who? Someone whose life you saved. Someone who's been looking for a way to thank you properly. The other soldiers were smiling now, like they knew a secret. Colonel, what's going on? Marcus asked. You'll see, the colonel said. In about 30 minutes, you'll see. In the distance, I heard new engines. Bigger ones. Coming closer. And I had a feeling our story was about to get much more interesting. The sound of helicopters filled the air. Not just one helicopter, several, flying low and fast toward our hotel. Marcus looked up at the sky with wide eyes. Colonel, what did you do? I made a phone call, the colonel said with a smile. To someone who's been waiting 3 years to meet you face to face. The helicopters were getting closer. Hotel guests were pointing and taking pictures with their phones. Cars on the highway were pulling over to watch. Who? Marcus asked, but his voice was drowned out by the noise of the helicopters landing in the field behind the hotel. Mrs. Peterson was running around, trying to keep other guests calm. Everyone please stay back, she called out. This is official military business. Jenkins stood next to Marcus like a bodyguard now. Amazing how fast people change when they learn the truth. The helicopter engines shut off one by one. Big doors opened. More soldiers got out. But these soldiers were different. Their uniforms had more medals, more stripes. These were important people. Marcus, I said, grabbing his arm. I am scared. Don't be, he said softly. Whatever happens, we're together. A group of officers walked toward us from the helicopters. In the middle was a woman with stars on her shoulders. A general, a real general. The colonel saluted as she approached. All the other soldiers saluted too. Marcus tried to salute, but the general stopped him. Staff Sergeant Thompson, she said, please don't salute me. I should be saluting you. Marcus looked confused. Ma'am, I don't understand. The general was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes. But when she spoke, everyone listened. My name is General Patricia Hayes, she said. Do you remember August 15th, 2021? Yes, ma'am. That's a day I'll never forget. Neither will I, the general said, because that's the day you saved my life. Marcus's face went white. You were there. I was one of the officers you threw yourself on top of when the second bomb exploded, she explained. The shrapnel in your back was meant for me. I felt tears starting in my eyes. My brother had saved a general and never told anyone. Ma'am, I was just doing my job, Marcus said quietly. No, General Hayes said firmly. You went above and beyond your job. Way above and beyond. She turned to look at Jenkins and Mrs. Peterson. And today, these people treated you like you were nobody. Like you didn't matter. Jenkins looked like he wanted to disappear. Mrs. Peterson was crying now. Ma'am, they didn't know, Marcus said. They were just doing their jobs too. Their job is to treat people with respect, the general said. Especially people who've served their country. More people were gathering around us. Hotel guests, people from nearby businesses, even some kids with their parents. Everyone wanted to see what was happening. Sergeant Thompson, the general continued. I've been trying to find you for 3 years. To thank you properly. To make sure you got the recognition you deserve. I don't need recognition, ma'am. Maybe you don't need it, but you deserve it. The general turned to the crowd. This man is a true American hero. He saved lives while risking his own. People in the crowd started clapping, slowly at first, then louder. Soon everyone was clapping and cheering for Marcus. My brother looked embarrassed. He never liked being the center of attention. There's more, General Hayes said. I've been working with Congress, getting them to approve a special medal for what you did that day. Marcus's eyes went wide. A medal, the Congressional Medal of Honor, she said. The highest award our country can give. The crowd got even louder. I started crying. Real tears of pride and joy. But Marcus looked worried. Mom, im honored. But there's something you should know. What's that, Sergeant? Marcus told her about the cancer. About the 6 months. The general's face got very serious. Then we need to move fast, she said. The ceremony was planned for next month. But we'll do it next week. Ceremony? I asked. At the White House, General Hayes explained. The president wants to meet Marcus personally. The president. My brother was going to meet the president. Jenkins stepped forward. General, Mom. I owe Staff Sergeant Thompson an apology. Yes, you do, she agreed. Sir, Jenkins said to Marcus. I was wrong. Completely wrong. I judged you by your truck instead of seeing who you really are. Marcus nodded. Apology accepted. That's not enough, General Hayes said. She looked at Mrs. Peterson. This hotel needs to do better. A lot better. Mrs. Peterson wiped her eyes. General, you're absolutely right. We're going to make changes. Big changes. What kind of changes? The general asked. First, we're going to train all our staff about recognizing and respecting veterans, Mrs. Peterson said. Second, we're going to offer free rooms to any veteran who needs them. And third, the general asked. Mrs. Peterson looked at Marcus. We're going to put a plaque in room 237 in honor of Staff Sergeant Marcus Thompson and his father, so people remember what real heroes look like. The crowd cheered again. Marcus was crying now too. Happy tears. But General Hayes wasn't done yet. There's one more thing, she said. Something that's going to surprise everyone. She pulled out a folder from her jacket. Official-looking papers. What's that? Marcus asked. Your new orders, she said with a smile. Orders? But I'm retired. Not anymore, General Hayes said. You've just been promoted to Sergeant First Class. And you have a new job. Marcus looked shocked. What job? You're going to help us train young soldiers. Teach them what real courage looks like. The papers in her hands looked very important, very official, and I had a feeling they were about to change my brother's life in ways we never expected. The papers in General Hayes's hands were shaking, not for nervousness, from anger. Pure, hot anger that made everyone step back. These orders aren't just about a new job, she said, her voice getting louder. They're about justice, about making things right. Marcus reached for the papers, but the general pulled them back. Not yet, Sergeant. First, everyone here needs to understand something. She turned to face the crowd of hotel guests and staff. Her eyes were like fire. This hotel chain has a contract with the Department of Defense, she announced. A big contract, worth millions of dollars every year. Mrs. Peterson's face went white as snow. General, please. They house our traveling military families, our visiting officers, our veterans attending medical appointments. General Hayes's voice carried across the parking lot like thunder. And today, they discriminated against one of our finest heroes. The crowd got very quiet. You could hear people breathing. Cars driving by seemed louder. Even the birds stopped singing. What does that mean? Someone in the crowd asked. General Hayes smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. It means this hotel chain just lost their contract. All of it. Every single dollar. Mrs. Peterson fell into a chair someone brought from the lobby. She looked sick. How much money is that? A reporter asked. I hadn't noticed the news people showing up, but now there were cameras everywhere. $12 million a year, the general said clearly. Gone. Jenkins was sweating so much his shirt was wet. General, this is all my fault. Don't punish the whole hotel for what I did. You're right. It is your fault, she agreed. But Mrs. Peterson backed you up. The company policy allowed this to happen. Marcus stepped forward. Ma'am, with respect, Maybe we could work something out. Work what out, Sergeant? A way to fix this without destroying people's jobs, Marcus said. These folks made a mistake, but they're learning from it. General Hayes studied my brother's face. You want to help them? After what they did to you? Yes, ma'am. That's what soldiers do. We help people, even when they don't deserve it. The general was quiet for a long moment, thinking. Everyone waited. There might be a way, she said finally, but it would require big changes. Real changes. What kind of changes? Mrs. Peterson asked hopefully. First, every single employee gets training about veterans. Proper training from military instructors. Yes, absolutely, Mrs. Peterson agreed quickly. Second, this hotel becomes a model for how to treat military families. With respect and honor. We can do that. Third, General Hayes said, her voice getting serious again. Jenkins here is going to personally apologize to every veteran who stays at this hotel for the next year. Jenkins nodded first. Yes, ma'am. I'll do whatever it takes. But the general wasn't finished. She looked at Marcus again. And fourth, Staff Sergeant Thompson here is going to oversee the whole program. Make sure it's done right. Marcus looked surprised. Ma'am, I don't know anything about running hotel programs. You know about respect. You know about honor. That's all you need. She handed him the papers finally. These orders make you our official military relations advisor. Full pay. Full benefits. I grabbed Marcus's arm. What does that mean for the cancer treatment? General Hayes heard me. It means he gets the best medical care in the world. At Walter Reed Hospital, the same doctors who treat generals and presidents. My heart jumped. Maybe there was hope after all. Marcus opened the folder and read the papers. His eyes got wide. General, this salary is... What you deserve, she said firmly. What you should have been getting all along. The crowd started talking excitedly. Good news travels fast. But then Marcus asked a question that made everyone quiet again. What if the cancer gets worse? What if I can't do the job? General Hayes put her hand on his shoulder. Then you'll do it as long as you can. And you'll train someone else to carry on after you. Who would I train? The general smiled for real this time. That depends on who's willing to learn. She looked around at all the soldiers still standing in the parking lot. Any volunteers? Every single hand went up. All 20 soldiers raised their hands to help my brother. See, General Hayes said, you're not alone in this fight, Sergeant. Marcus started crying again. Happy tears mixed with scared tears. There's one more thing, the general said. She pulled out her phone and made a call. Yes, this is General Hayes. Put me through to the president's office. The president's office. She was calling the president right now. Sir, it's about Staff Sergeant Thompson. Yes, the Medal of Honor ceremony. We need to move it up. Way up. Everyone leaned in to hear better. Tomorrow, the general said into the phone. That might work. Let me check. She looked at Marcus. Can you fly to Washington tomorrow morning? Marcus looked at me, then at all the soldiers, then at the crowd of people who had judged him an hour ago and were now cheering for him. Yes, ma'am, he said. I can be ready. Perfect, she said into the phone. We'll be there at 0800 hours. She hung up and smiled at everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow morning, Staff Sergeant Marcus Thompson will receive the Congressional Medal of Honor from the President of the United States. The crowd exploded in cheers, but I noticed something in the general's eyes, something worried, and I had a feeling she wasn't telling us everything about tomorrow. The general's phone rang at exactly midnight. I know because I was lying awake in room 237 with Marcus, both of us too excited to sleep. Hayes here, she answered quietly, but I could hear her voice through the thin hotel walls. Marcus sat up in bed. Something's wrong. How do you know? I whispered. Military calls at midnight are never good news. We could hear her talking, but couldn't make out the words. Her voice sounded serious, worried. Then we heard footsteps in the hallway. Fast footsteps, like someone running. Marcus got out of bed and put on his prosthetic leg. Get dressed, Sarah. Why? Because whatever that phone call was about, it's going to change our plans. A knock came at our door. 3 sharp knocks, military style. Marcus opened it. General Hayes stood there in full uniform, even though it was the middle of the night. Sergeant, we have a problem. What kind of problem, ma'am? She came into our room and closed the door behind her. The kind that could cancel tomorrow's ceremony. My heart sank. What happened? Someone leaked the story to the press. Not just any press. International press. Marcus frowned. Is that bad? It is when they got the story wrong, General Hayes said. They're reporting that you're dying, that the president is giving you the medal as a farewell gift. But that's not. I know it's not the whole truth, she said. But now every news station in the world wants to interview you. They're calling you the dying hero. Through our window, I could see news vans pulling into the parking lot. Lots of them. How many reporters are out there? Marcus asked. 50 so far. More coming every hour. Marcus sat down on the bed. Maybe we should cancel the ceremony. Absolutely not, General Hayes said firmly. You earned that medal. You're getting that medal. But all this attention is exactly what we need, she said with a strange smile. What do you mean? I asked. General Hayes pulled out her phone and showed us a news article. The headline read, Dying Veteran Denied Hotel Room Before Medal of Honor Ceremony. This story is everywhere, she explained. And people are angry, really angry. Marcus read the article. His face got red. This makes it sound like I'm some kind of victim. Aren't you? The general asked. No, I'm a soldier who did his job. And now the whole world knows it. She scrolled through more articles. Look at these headlines. I read them out loud. Hero veteran fights cancer and discrimination. Hotel denies room to Medal of Honor winner. America's bravest soldier treated like trash. This is too much, Marcus said. I never wanted this kind of attention. Maybe not, General Hayes said. But now you have it, and we're going to use it for good. Ow! She sat down across from us. Marcus, there are thousands of veterans who get treated badly every day, just like you did. But they don't have a general and a colonel to stand up for them. So now you're their voice, their champion. A louder knock came at the door. Then another. Reporters were trying to get to us. We need to get you out of here, General Hayes said. Somewhere safe where you can prepare for tomorrow. Where? Walter Reed Hospital. The doctors want to run some tests anyway. Make sure you're strong enough for the ceremony. Marcus looked worried. What if I'm not strong enough? Then we'll make you strong enough, she said. Whatever it takes. We packed quickly. The general had soldiers create a path through the crowd of reporters. Camera flashes went off like lightning. People shouted questions. Staff Sergeant Thompson, how does it feel to be a hero? Are you really dying? What do you want to say to the hotel? Marcus didn't answer any of them. He just walked to the military SUV with his head up and his shoulders back, like the soldier he was. But as we drove away, I saw him looking back at the hotel, at Jenkins, who was standing in the doorway watching us leave, at Mrs. Peterson, who was crying on the phone with someone. Do you regret any of this? I asked him. Marcus thought for a minute. I regret that it took almost dying to get people to listen. Listen to what? To the truth about how we treat our veterans. How we treat people who are different. People who don't look like they belong. General Hayes was listening from the front seat. That's exactly why tomorrow is so important, Sergeant. What happens tomorrow? Besides the medal ceremony, she turned around to look at us. Tomorrow, you become more than just a Medal of Honor winner. You become a symbol. A symbol of what? Hope, courage, the idea that everyone deserves respect, no matter what they look like or what they drive. The SUV was quiet for a while. We passed more news vans heading toward the hotel. General, Marcus said finally, there's something I need to tell you. What's that? The doctors didn't just find cancer in my lungs. My heart stopped. Marcus, what are you talking about? He looked at me with sad eyes. It spread, Sarah, to other places. General Hayes pulled out her phone again. How long do the doctors think you have? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Maybe 3 months. Maybe less. The number hit me like a truck. 3 months. Not 6. 3. But General Hayes surprised me with her response. Then we're going to make those 3 months count, she said firmly. Starting tomorrow. Ow! She smiled, but her eyes were serious. You'll see, Sergeant. You'll see. And something in her voice told me that tomorrow was going to be bigger than any of us imagined. The president was crying. The president of the United States had tears running down his face as he placed the Medal of Honor around Marcus's neck. But that wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part was what happened 30 seconds before the ceremony started. Marcus had collapsed in the White House hallway. Sir, "We need to get you to a chair," the Secret Service agent said, helping Marcus stand up. "I'm fine," Marcus whispered, but I could see he wasn't fine. His face was gray. His hand was shaking worse than ever. General Hayes was on her radio. "We need medical standby. Now." "Ma'am, I can do this," Marcus said. "I have to do this." The ceremony was being broadcast live on every news channel in America. Millions of people were watching, including Mom, who was flying in from Ohio but got stuck in a storm. "Marcus," I said quietly, "maybe we should postpone this." "No." His voice was stronger suddenly. 3 months, remember? I'm not wasting a single day. The doors to the ceremony room opened. I could see reporters with cameras, military officers in dress uniforms, important people from Congress, all waiting for my brother. "You ready for this, Sergeant?" General Hayes asked. Marcus straightened his tie and stood as tall as he could. "Yes, ma'am." We walked into the room together. The crowd stood up and started clapping. But it wasn't regular clapping. It was the kind of clapping that goes on, the kind that makes your throat tight with emotion. Marcus walked slowly to the front of the room. Each step looked hard for him, but he didn't stop, didn't ask for help. The president waited at a podium with a medal in a special blue box. "Ladies and gentlemen," the president said when the clapping finally stopped, "today we honor a man who represents the very best of America." He began reading Marcus's citation, the official story of what happened in Afghanistan. But he added details I'd never heard before. Staff Sergeant Thompson didn't just save lives that day. He saved the peace talks that ended the war. What? Marcus never told me that. The officers he protected were carrying documents that led to the withdrawal of all American forces. If they had died, thousands more soldiers would still be in danger today. I looked at Marcus. His eyes were wide with surprise. He didn't know this either. So Marcus didn't just save 11 people that day. He saved thousands. The crowd started clapping again, louder this time. But the president wasn't done. "There's something else Staff Sergeant Thompson doesn't know." Marcus looked confused. So did General Hayes. The shrapnel that hit him contained pieces of the bomb that was meant to kill those peace negotiators. Our scientists studied it. That bomb would have destroyed the entire building. My heart stopped. Marcus had saved everyone in that building. Hundreds of people. By throwing himself on that explosion, Staff Sergeant Thompson didn't just save his fellow soldiers. He saved the mission that brought our troops home. The president opened the blue box. The Medal of Honor sparkled under the lights. "Marcus Thompson, by order of Congress and by the authority of the President of the United States, you are awarded the Medal of Honor for conspicuous gallantry above and beyond the call of duty." He placed the medal around Marcus's neck. The crowd erupted in applause. But then Marcus did something nobody expected. He asked for the microphone. "Thank you, Mr. President," Marcus said. His voice was weak, but everyone could hear him. "But I can't accept this medal alone." What was he doing? "This medal belongs to every soldier who didn't make it home, every veteran who struggles with what they saw overseas, every family member who waited and worried." He paused to catch his breath. "And it belongs to everyone who learned something from what happened at that hotel 2 days ago." The cameras focused on him. The room was completely quiet. "Jenkins, the security guard who turned me away, called me this morning. He's starting a program to help homeless veterans find places to stay." I saw people in the audience wiping their eyes. Mrs. Peterson, the hotel manager, is turning her hotel into a training center for how businesses should treat military families. Marcus was getting stronger as he talked, like the words were giving him energy. And General Hayes has created a new position in the Army. Someone whose job is to make sure no veteran gets treated the way I was treated. He looked directly at the cameras. "So this medal isn't just about what I did in Afghanistan. It's about what all of us can do right here at home." The president was nodding, smiling. "We can choose to see people for who they really are, not what they look like on the outside. We can choose respect over judgment, hope over fear." Marcus started coughing, hard coughing that made him bend over. Medical people rushed toward him, but he waved them away. "I may only have 3 months left," he said when he could speak again. "But I'm going to spend every single day making sure other veterans know they matter." The crowd stood up. Everyone was clapping and crying at the same time. But Marcus held up his hand. He wasn't finished. "There's one more person I need to thank," he said. He looked right at me. "My sister Sarah, who never gave up on me, who believed I was worth fighting for even when I didn't believe it myself. Now I was crying too hard to see straight. "Sarah, will you help me with something?" "Anything," I managed to say. Marcus smiled. The first real smile I'd seen from him in months. "Help me show America what heroes really look like." "How?" "By telling their stories. All of them. The ones who made it home and the ones who didn't." The president stepped forward. "Staff Sergeant Thompson, what are you proposing?" Marcus took a deep breath. "A foundation, sir, to help veterans and teach people about respect." "What would you need for something like that?" Marcus looked at General Hayes. She nodded. "Just a chance, Mr. President. A chance to make these 3 months count." The president was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. "Consider done, Sergeant. Whatever you need." But as the ceremony ended and people started leaving, I noticed something that made my stomach drop. Marcus was leaning heavily on his chair. His breathing was getting shallow. And General Hayes was on her phone again, talking to doctors. Something told me our fight was just beginning. The phone call came at 3 a.m., exactly 2 weeks after the White House ceremony. I knew before I answered it that everything was about to change again. "Sarah," Marcus whispered into the phone. His voice was so weak I could barely hear him. "I need you to come to the hospital. Now." I was dressed and in my car in 5 minutes. The roads were empty except for a few police cars that seemed to be following me. Strange. When I got to Walter Reed Hospital, there were news vans everywhere. Again, but this time they looked different, sadder. General Hayes met me at the front door. Her eyes were red from crying. "How bad is it?" I asked. "Bad," she said simply. "The doctors say maybe a week. Maybe less. 1 week. Not 3 months. 1 week." We took the elevator to Marcus's room in silence. I tried to prepare myself for what I might see, but nothing could have prepared me for what was actually in that room. Marcus was sitting up in bed, surrounded by dozens of people. Veterans in wheelchairs, young soldiers in uniform, families with children, all of them talking and laughing quietly. "Sarah," Marcus called out when he saw me. His voice was stronger than it had been on the phone. "Come meet everyone." "Who are all these people?" I asked. "Veterans who heard about the foundation," he explained. "They came to help." An older man in a Vietnam veteran cap stood up. "Ma'am, your brother has started something amazing." "What do you mean?" A young woman in an Army uniform answered. "The Marcus Thompson Foundation has already raised $2 million. $2 million? In 2 weeks?" "How?" I asked. Marcus smiled weakly. "Turns out people really do care about veterans. They just needed someone to show them how to help." General Hayes handed me a folder. "Look at this." Inside were letters. Hundreds of letters. From all over the country. I read one out loud. "Dear Staff Sergeant Thompson, my grandfather fought in World War II. He never talked about it, but after seeing your story, I finally understand why. Thank you for helping me see what real courage looks like." Another one said, "My son is deployed overseas right now. I was scared every day until I heard your speech. Now I know he's fighting alongside heroes like you." "There are thousands more," General Hayes said. "From kids, grandparents, teachers, police officers. Everyone wants to help." Marcus coughed, and everyone in the room got quiet. But it wasn't the scary coughing from before. It was softer. "The best part," Marcus said, "is what's happening at that hotel." "What's happening?" A familiar voice answered from the doorway. "We're changing everything." I turned around and couldn't believe what I saw. Jenkins was standing there in a suit, holding flowers. "Jenkins? What are you doing here?" He walked over to Marcus's bed. "I came to thank him, and to tell him what's been happening since that day." "Tell me," Marcus said. Jenkins sat down. "Remember how you said I should see the person, not the package?" Marcus nodded. "Well, I started really looking at people, really seeing them." Jenkins's voice got emotional. "Do you know how many veterans stay at our hotel every month? How many?"